I'm glad that August is behind us. August days are often referred to as the lazy days of summer, but events have not been lazy or slow. The COVID variant has surged. Scientists are fearful that a vaccine-resistant variant has emerged. The last plane U.S. military personnel left Kabul airport on 30 August, leaving in its wake uncertainty in Afghanistan and political and turmoil in that country and here at home. Hurricane Ida made landfall in Louisiana years to the day Katrina struck, and Ida made its way to the northeast, wreaking havoc in New York and other cities. Here in California, the recall election of Governor Newsom has heated up. The wildfires, Dixie, have destroyed vast tracts of wilderness. August was not trouble-free. We are now in the second September. Yesterday marked the 20th anniversary of 9/11. You recall that 4 commercial flights were hijacked, 2 crashing into the World Trade Center in New York City and 1 in the Pentagon. 1 plane was headed for the White House, but passengers wrestled control from the hijackers and the plane crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania instead. There doesn't seem to be good news on any front. The lockdown these past 18 months has not been kind. People are anxious and on edge. Passengers assaulting flight attendants are commonplace. Aggression against Asian Americans are up. What are we to make of these seemingly endless tragedies? These reflect the personal toll on our mental and physical health. I remember at the beginning of the quarantine, we had just returned from Japan. We immediately complied with the quarantine and have been in footing ever since. As for me personally, I have fared reasonably well because working on a book, I inhabited another world and was not overly concerned with the events that were transpiring. Hopefully the book next year. It takes approximately 9 months when the materials are submitted to the publisher and before the book is out. I will speak about the content of the book at a later date. While working on the book, I was also preparing for a solo exhibition at Art Institute in Dayton, Ohio. It was difficult to attend to these 2 projects. For one, these projects operate in parts of the brain, one academic and technical, the other intuitive and aesthetic. But somehow one project is done and the other is nearing completion. Because of the continued persistence of COVID, our trip to Dayton has failed. The exhibition will go on, however. It opens on the 18th of September, I guess that's next week, and runs until 2 January 22. The show will return to the Bay Area. Dharma Realm Buddhist University in Ukiah will host a session in spring 2022. But working on the book has taken its toll. Sitting in front of the computer for endless hours has weakened my legs and caused balance problems. I had physical therapy, which seems to have helped. I'm on a cane now. My friends and relatives have not done well. I learned a few weeks ago that an aunt, the spouse of my youngest aunt, passed away at 97. She was my last link to my parents' Nisei generation. I lost another relative, an elder of the LA branch of the Nakasone family. He was also 97. I lost many dear friends because of COVID. There have not been a service to mark this important transition. I will go on, and I must go on. Thinking about this morning's talk, what uplifting message should I share? And I thought about Siddhartha's great accomplishment. The enlightenment may be too rarefied and out of reach, but the Buddhist enlightenment is really about the celebration of mind. The Buddha's spiritual ascent, his battle with Mara, and his enlightenment is about the power of mind to overcome adversity. Before I go on and speak about the mind, I want to read to you a letter that Galileo wrote to his good friend Diodati. He writes, "At last your dear friend and servant Galileo has been for the last month perfectly blind, so that this heaven, this earth, this universe, which I, by my marvelous and clear demonstration, have enlarged 100,000 times beyond the belief of the wise men of bygone ages. He shrunk into such a small space as is filled by my own bodily. The bodily sensation that confined Galileo to such a small space. Buddhists are, in the Buddhist tradition, the raw materials for the speculation of the nature of reality and universe. Well, Galileo discovered an expansive celestial world with the aid of a telescope. The meditation that Prince Siddhartha mastered to ascend higher and more rarefied states of mindfulness revealed an luminous and immeasurably vast universe. Siddhartha's momentous insight opened a new psychocosmo landscape for exploration and for mapping. Galileo's exploration looked outward. In contrast, the Buddha explored the mind, looking inward. The world does not change with the enlightenment. You change. Attitude changes. Siddhartha Gautama changed. The new landscape, the Buddha, is a spiritual landscape. It changes the way we see the world. That is why the branches, the leaves, the trunks of the Buddha glittered with the 7 jewels, and from his seat at the base of the Bo tree, light streamed forth in the 10 directions and shone on the world wherever, everywhere. The Tang Dynasty Zen master Seigen Ishin said, before studying Zen, mountains were mountains and rivers were rivers. With the Enlightenment, there were no mountains, no rivers. After the Enlightenment, mountains were mountains and rivers were rivers. For the Jodo Shinshu devotee, is the personification of the compassion of Amida Buddha. To devotees, Amida Buddha is the reassurance that they are embraced. It generates or engenders great joy. Jodo Watsan by Shina, the hymns of the Pure Land, Shinran writes, the light of compassion illumines us from afar. Those being it reaches, it is taught in joy of the Dharma. So take refuge in Amida. This is Jodo Watsan. And from a seat at the base of the Bo tree, light streamed forth to the 10 directions. Light illumines the world, touching all people. And so we read in Jodo Watsan, number 4, the light exceeds all measure, and life and every finite being living there receives this illumination that is. So take refuge in Amida. the true and real light. In these, the power of the human imagination is in full display, not only in the Jodo Watsan and the Sukota Vyuha, but also in the early Mahayana sutras. These documents display the creative imagination. Essentially, they celebrate the power of the mind to ascend unbelievable heights. In short, the verses of true faith, Shinran sings praises to the virtue of the enlightenment. The opening lines, I take refuge in the Tathagata of infinite life, that is Amida Buddha and his inconceivable light, wisdom. While Amida Buddha was training as the Bodhisattva Dhammakara, he, in response to countless Buddhas in their respective Pure Lands and the good and evil beings in the world and in the heavens, Dhammakara pledges to establish the unsurpassed, most precious, uplifting vows. The remainder of the Shoshinge Shinran cites the site justification, primal vow of Amida, the Hongan, and he cites teachers of the past and accord with our minds with this belief. There's much to explain and comment, but here I highlight the power of the imagination. The mind is expressive. The imaginative Buddha's mind is expansive, embracing the universe. The universe, and this universe is the embodiment of compassion and goodwill. Imagine where the mind can take you. All the places you can go. So on this Shotsuki Hoyo for September, when we dedicate ourselves to remembering our loved ones who passed away, minds can retrieve the past and transport them to the present. When I surface memories of my parents and grandparents, and when I return to my ancestral village, and when I see the mountains and the seas, my ancestors' village, my imagination asks, what happened here? Why is this place so meaningful? What wisdom lies here? With your imagination anywhere without hassle, going to the airport, checking in, waiting to go through security and immigration, in a seat for hours on end and consuming bland airline food. You can bypass all of these things. All you need is space and let your imagination soar. Our imaginations allow us to traverse time. It allows us to commingle the past, the present, and the future. Shotsuki Hoyo is to remember our ancestors. It is a time to retrieve the past. Hopefully the sight of the temple, the incense, will trigger memories. We are still mired in this pandemic. Restriction shackle our physical movements, meeting with friends, and curtailing travel. Shoshinge and other Buddhist documents remind that our minds are infinitely expansive. We can recall the past and remember the future. A Buddhist imagination also allows us to remember the future. To remember is simply to imagine what can be, where we can be, and we must work to that. We can imagine, for example, that there will be no more COVID lockdown, and we can return to usual routines. The devastation of Hurricane Ida and the wildfires at the California-Nevada border are reminders of change. While we cannot fully know the future of California, what the future of California will be, we can imagine a future of such disasters. We know what the solutions are. We must work to meet the wildfires of the future. The founding pioneers of the BCA imagined the future of Shinran's teaching in the English-speaking world. Reading the early history, the ministers were cognizant of the dual responsibilities. One, to serve the Japanese Sangha and prepare for the English-speaking Sangha. A nationalist Japan and World War II set the agenda back at least 2 generations. Hawaii and the continent invested in education. But educating the future leader is clearly not enough. The Dharma must be cognizant of the competition. We must educate our leaders to propagate the Dharma in a hostile and competitive environment. I more, but the point is we must imagine the future and prepare for it. So on this September Hoyo, let us remember those have been important to our lives. When we remember them, we honor them, and we express our heartfelt gratitude and respect. Let us also work to realize their dreams and dedicate our lives to remembering the future they imagine. The future, their future of a English-speaking Sangha is our future. It is not enough to remember the future. We must dedicate our making their imagining of their future real. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.